difficult for people to distinguish between what do they love, what do they hate, and to be consistent with that the whole way through with everything they do. Or they just change depending on their emotion. If they're just changing because of, depending on what emotional state they're in, what emotional alignment they're in. Then when they have a different emotional alignment, then they're going to have a different idea about what they love and what they hate. And then there's conflict between two different personalities in there. And that's just what's out there. It's very clear. But at any rate, because there are people who are on Twitter who are interested in martial arts, we have an opportunity then I'm not just talking about you and I'm saying in any case, as a martial artist, you have an opportunity to consider what is the dynamic that's going on here in terms of who's dominating in what area. And then you have a training method to get better. Actually, it's an attack is what it is. That's the first thing. You're looking at how can you attack. That's it. And then I just have to be aware of it, and then I'm thinking, okay, how do I counter that? But, that's still a bit ridiculous at some point, because then it's largely still just an emotional thing. Today we'll be fighting for this reason. Tomorrow we'll be fighting for that reason of different emotional alignments. Because of different, fluctuating habits of psychic energy. So obviously, it's good to have martial arts training in real life. But at any rate, at the most fundamental level, it's just staying centered while being aware and listening with my ears, with my eyes, I'm listening to your waves energy, your vibration. While I'm staying centered. And then the training then is that I have to try and stay centered no matter what you say. I have to not let my judgment kick in, because when my judgment kicks in, then my inertia starts rolling in a certain way which builds up a certain level of momentum, which may be needed at just a little bit to be aware of what's happening, or what the potential risk is, let's say. But I have to stay centered at the same time. If I can find my center, my emotional baseline, and the deepest level that I can relax and have a pleasant, grounded feeling in, while still having enough awareness to pull out my gun, or what would it be? Or to say, no, you're wrong, or to So at any rate, there's a training method there. There's a way to, even though we don't have the opportunity to throw physical punches and kicks and stuff, we have I have the opportunity here to sit here on my own and find my center, emotional baseline, whatever that means for each individual person. For me, I have an internal sense of that, and I have an internal ability of that. At least there's something that, even though it might be a little bit elusive at first and difficult to find it internally, at least there's something that it gets to the point. I can get to a point where I can find it in my breathing pattern, flowing in that waveform, flowing through my body. I can find it somewhere. I can find something, just something to work with, that I can build on, that I can then start to slowly iron out the kinks, and that I can open that up. And I can inflate more inertia in there, so I can become more and more stable, and essentially more. I can inflate more mass. It's like some karate people, they talk about how they can basically become heavier or lighter, like that. And I'm sure in Aikido it's going to be the same. Yeah, but at any rate, I just sense for that through my training, and I developed that. So I can release more and more into that. But that's just on an external level. Internally, there's something that is being built up. And that no words that I can say, no external way that I can express is going to be able to, directly, give it to someone else. So other people are going to have to, we each all have to feel for it within ourselves. And it's going to be different for different people. All right, my lotus is getting tingled.